Hey guys, this is Sarkis Love. I want to talk a little bit about identities and um, how the identity kind of gets in your way, and then also just a little trick to create some space from that identity so that you can experience a little bit more freedom, a little bit more liberation, or whatever it is you want to experience that you feel limited by. Because guess what? Most people feel a little bit limited in their identity. And one solution to that is to expand your identity and create a bigger identity, right? Or an identity that's free or allows you to do or experience the things that you don't necessarily allow yourself to do. Halloween is a perfect example of that. Everybody dressing up in their kind of fantasy selves, and it's awesome. It's so fun and liberating because we give ourselves permission to be someone else, right? We make up an identity for a day or a night or a week. And it's the same thing that we're doing right now, except the identity that I'm making up right now as Sarkis is a more established one. It's more kind of fixed and rooted. And so that sense of being fixed ends up becoming a sense of suffering because in a infinite experience, right, consciousness or awareness or God or oneness or the Tao is infinite. It's unlimited. And when we tell ourselves that we're this person, that becomes a fixed identity, and that fixation tends to feel like a limitation and a suffering. So, and then the other thing to note is that identities are mostly they seem as if they're for something. You know, for example, if I'm a good person, it's like I'm for being good. But what we don't realize is that most identities are also defined by being in opposition to something else. So you can't be for good without being against bad, right? And that being against also creates a lot of pain, a lot of static, and a lot of suffering. And again, it's okay to have like an expanded sense of self, an expanded identity, like I am oneness, I am love. And that's also great. As long as it's not in opposition to something else, it'll feel pretty good to you. And you'll know if it doesn't feel good because you'll start to get a sense that something's not right. And that's what I'm offering here today, is to find out what is the identity, what's the person that you walk around and think you're this person, or that you're really attached to. And if you don't have a sense of that, you can understand what it is by understanding the versions of a self that you reject. So what does that mean? That means that when someone sees you in a way that you don't want to be seen, right? Let's say someone says, again, I'll go back to this example, like you're a bad person, you're a bad driver, and you get super triggered by that. Well, then you can investigate, like, why do I get so triggered when someone says I'm a bad driver? And then it's like, oh, because I'm really invested in being a good driver or a skillful driver, right? So in the places in your life where you feel friction, or where you can look out, another way to do it is to look out into the world, and when you find people that you have judgments about, really clarify what it is and see, oh yeah, like that person. What I was once eating, for example, I was once eating with this lady, and she kept throwing away her food. She'd take like a huge plate of food, and then she'd take a few bites and throw away the rest. And I did not like that. I thought that's wasteful. And it shed light on my identity, which says like, oh, like I don't waste food. I'm conscientious. I'm protective of the planet, and all these like kind of things that I thought I am, when really I'm the same way. And I just need to look for those ways. What else do I want to say? So the thing I want to offer is, if you can identify what is this personality, this fixation of identity that I have, name it. So let's say like, oh yeah, I want to be a good guy. I want people to see me as a good guy. Then see what it's like to explore the opposite of that. So in this case, it would be uh, exploring what it's like to be a bad guy. And I'm not suggesting that you act out your shadow identity. I'm going to call it a shadow. Um, but just to invite the energy of what it's like, you can just imagine like what's something that I think is bad. Like, okay, yeah, like I would never take a plate of food and just throw it away. But then like feel that part of you that is like that might do it, that might be bad, and see what kind of energy comes into your system when you allow that forbidden part, that shadow identity, or the opposite identity to come in. And for me, when I do that, there's a little bit of space, there's a sense of freedom. And it's why people love rebels, or why people love to be rebellious or to rebel against conventions and so on, is because it releases an energy in us that is experienced as pleasure or freedom, sometimes even peace or happiness. And I'm not, and ultimately, we don't want to stay fixed in any identity. It's, as you noticed, we don't need an identity to exist. So try that on. Okay, that's it for now, and thank you for listening.